old radio's still working.
775, Hey, it's me, Shane, Gemini Garage, and we are back with Mondo mag mount mania. And for obvious reasons, I think some of these fit that category pretty well. We've got a kind of a Mad Maxed Tram triple mag mount with a Procom ball spring and a Foscom 6-inch riser into a 102-inch whip on this end here for something kind of crazy to measure all these on the big end. And then on the little end here, we've got the Tram 300 from the last test. Figured the Tram 300 would make a good baby or little antenna for the big ones here. And then in between, we've got the Serio P2000, the Wilson 5000, the Striker SRA10, the Tram 3500, the Wilson 500, and then again on the end there we got the Tram 300. So that's pretty much going to be the lineup here. Kind of excited to do this test. There were a couple of more that I tried to order, but they were either back ordered or discontinued. I'll get into what those were a little later on in the video. I did, however, remember to get a mystery antenna to throw into the mix, so never fear. So with that, we're gonna test all these, and let's get to it. Hey, it's me, Shane, aka Gemini from Gemini Garage, and welcome to Mondo mag mount mania. We got the big ones here, and you'll notice there are some not so big ones here. You might notice on the end there that familiar Tram there was in the last test, and also the Wilson 500. I'll get to that in a second. But I'm kind of excited to do this test here. There's not quite as many antennas. They're of a little higher quality. Once again, you know, the last one you had all those clones, and then those ones with different packaging, and Mag Mount Mania 1 you had all those different antennas that were kind of the same antenna, and a little bit less confusion with these. So there are a few of them here, and this is pretty representative of what you're going to get, you know, in the selection for the full-size mag mounts. Now I know there are some mag mounts or things that you could make into a mag mount that are larger than these, but as far as things that come as a magnet mount antenna that you take out of the package, you know, put together, or that's meant to use as a mag mount, this is a pretty good representative of what you're going to be offered. There are a couple of more that on the internet that are sort of generic and kind of, I think, are rebranded European brands. I'll put maybe a note or some kind of little comment in here on those and what those were. There was also one that I ordered that was a I think it was a PNI, which I think is a Serio. I think that's their European brand. Serio's, you know, European brand maybe. PNI ML200 I think it was, and it never showed up because it got back ordered. So some of that stuff, some of those radios, they've got some radios and some other things that are European, and sometimes you can't always get them. So, but these, that's another reason I wanted to choose all these. These are all very commonly available, easy to get a hold of on Amazon, eBay, or pretty much wherever you're going to shop. So, with that, I'm going to go down here on the end real quick and just introduce the boys in the band here real quick. On the end here, we got the Tram 300, we got the Wilson 500, we got the Tram 3500, we got the Striker SRA10, we got the Wilson 5000, we got the Serio P2000, and then on the big end we got the 102-inch stainless steel whip. Well, so what I'm doing is, again, I believe when you have an antenna test like this, you need one that's kind of way on the big side, on the big end, and then you need, you know, a baby, you know, one that's on the smaller end. The Wilson 500 is just too large. You know, it's only a few inches shorter than some of these other ones. So I felt it was too large to be the baby of the group. But the Tram 300, that I think is a good baby for this size antenna range. So I went with the Tram 300 for the small end, and then the 102 stainless steel whip for the large one. And then, of course, all these in between. And just exactly what are they in between? I did take measurements of them all, Some of them give measurements on the instructions or on the packages as to how tall they are or their assembled height, but you can't always go by that because it kind of depends on where you have the mast slid up and down, the whip slid up and down in the mast on some of these. So, whatever it says on the package might not be what it is after you've trimmed it or gotten it adjusted. So, having all these kind of in the ballpark adjusted for channel 20 CB, the Tram 300. 39-inch from the tip to the base, and when I say tip to base, I mean the very, very tip to the flat side of the bottom, like if it was stuck on the roof of your car. So top to bottom, 39 inches on the Tram 300, 58 inches on the Wilson 500, and you got to remember this one was trimmed. 62 inches for the Tram 3500, 70 inches for the Striker SRA 10. Cruise around to the other side here. 65 inches for the Wilson 5000, 79 inches for the Serio P2000, and the 102, when you get it with whatever 6-inch riser or spring on it, is going to be 108 inches, maybe 109 with your mount, so somewhere in there. And let's see, what else do we need to go over here? Oh, power ratings. The Serio P2000 here is rated at, I believe it says 600, it says 2000, but then it says 600 constant, 2000 5 on 5 off. So I'm pretty sure it's probably a 600 watt constant, 2000 watts off and on, or maybe sideband. The Wilson 5000 is rated at, I believe, 10,000 watts. 5,000 watts AM, 20,000 watts sideband. The Striker SRA10 is rated at 10,000 watts AM and 20,000 watts sideband. The Tram 3500 is rated at 3,500 watts, and I'm not sure if that's sideband or AM. The Wilson 500 is rated at 2,000 watts peak, which I believe is AM. And the Tram 300 is rated at 300 watts. And the 102-inch whip here, I'm not going to get into the controversy over how much you can or can't run through these. Obviously, you can run a lot more power through these than anything else probably that's sitting up here. So, which brings another thing to question. I'm a little bit skeptical and not overly excited about some of the power, or excuse me, the wattage ratings on some of these things, because, well, I mean, let me ask you something. You take something like this Striker SR10 here, rated at 10,000 watts AM. I mean, I don't think this coax is probably rated for 10,000 watts, AM. What's Mini 8 good for? Maybe 1,000. I mean, maybe you could get a little more out of that. But so when it comes to how many watts these things are rated at, you really got to kind of consider the coax and some other things to be realistic. So I guess as long as the loads and the coils in them will handle at least more than what the coax will, then you're doing okay. So with that, I'm going to go down the line on the other end here. Again, I'm going to start with the Tram here and kind of go over a little bit on how these are constructed. This here is pretty much just a whip that goes down into the little mast or riser here. There are 2 set screws on this that hold this in there. Of course, again, this has the nice rubber boot on the bottom of it, like most of the Tram stuff. It is one piece except for this right here, so if you were going to weatherproof this thing any further, you could probably just put a little bit of silicone right here, and that'd probably do you pretty good. Again, nice antenna, coax with it's good, no complaints on that, pretty well made. The Wilson 500, again, the only real complaint I had on this thing was the base pad on it, and it's not terrible, but it's just not really that soft, and it's just kind of, if you get it dirty, it's if you get a piece of dirt or metal or something, it's going to get ground in there, and that's my biggest complaint with this antenna. It feels like it's one piece here. This does not unscrew off of here like on the 1000 or the 5000. The coax seems of good quality. This base actually seems, with the exception of the fact that this, covering here is one piece. This base actually looks like it's pretty much exactly the same size as the Striker and the Wilson 5000. The Striker's got a rubber boot on here, so you could probably put this same kind of rubber boot on either one of these antennas. Just bringing that up because that's probably one of the bigger fault, as we all know. My biggest complaint of most of these antennas is the base pad, sticker, decal, whatever. So again, the Wilson 500, great antenna. Could do better on the decal, or have a rubber boot on it, but that's my only real complaint. Again, this antenna pretty sealed up, maybe a little bit of silicone around here, probably weatherproof it a little bit further for you, but otherwise probably not a lot to worry about. 2 set screws holding this whip into this little bit of a master riser here as well. The Tram 3500, again, this one's got a nice rubber boot on the bottom of it. Comes up over the edge just like on the 300 there. This has a really long kind of barrel mast on it right here, and apparently they've got it so that it's pretty hollow down through there, because this you can just move it up or down 2-3 inches all through all your 10, 11, 12 meter. You don't have to trim this one, so that's kind of a cool feature with this. This does feel kind of like almost 2 pieces. So I'm not sure if it is or not, but I'm pretty sure this is not made to, I really don't think this is made to unscrew off of here like some of these are here. So nice coax with the Tram. 2 set screws holding the whip into the mast here. Pretty good. Again, let me sneak around to the other side here. The Striker SRA 10. This thing's got a little mast riser here, and you got 2 set screws holding the whip in here. Then you got another set screw that holds this thing on, and then there's a brass stud coming up through the lid here. This whole thing comes apart because you have a light ring, an LED light ring in there, and just the way they have this, it comes apart. But this does unscrew off of here, just like a Wilson 1000 or a Striker, and I'll show you that in a second. Alright, now here's the Wilson 5000. Again, the Striker also has, I just mentioned earlier, it's got the rubber boot on here, and it's got some pretty nice coax with it too, so no complaints about the Striker. It looks like a pretty nice antenna. But what I did want to show you, they've also got a rubber gasket underneath here to kind of push up against this last little step here, and they put just a tiny bit of grease on it. And underneath this mast riser piece here, there is an O-ring between here and there, here in the top. It's a little bit of a thin O-ring, kind of a crummy O-ring. You might want to put a better O-ring on there, and then a little silicone around here to help seal this antenna up a little bit better, but otherwise I think it's sealed up pretty good. These do not actually come off, they're fake, so no water is going to migrate down into here. This has an edge that comes over, and then up in here is an actual O-ring that this centerpiece goes up into, so should be pretty sealed up as far as that goes, except for this area right here, which is the same could be said for those 3 there too. So but again, I wanted to take this off of here and just, you can see how just pretty much identical these bases are. And I've got some close-up pictures and some video and some stuff that I'm going to insert that shows even in more detail just how close alike these things are. I did notice this one's got a brass little ferrule kind of thing in here where the load screws on there. This one does not. Again, the base of this one here and even the base of the Wilson 500, they almost look like the Striker when it doesn't have the rubber on there. So it's almost kind of like the Wilson 500 and the Wilson 5000 and probably the 1000 too. It's almost like they were designed to have that rubber boot put on there. The Wilson just said, forget it, we're not spending the extra money on it, because like I said, if you look at the bottom of this, how it's got the same kind of shiny stuff on there, right? And then if you look at the bottom of this that doesn't have a boot on there, it looks kind of the same, so it's just kind of like, whatever. Yeah, they need to step up the quality of their base pads, especially for the cost of these antennas versus the striker. But that's a whole other, it's a whole other rant, whole other video, whole other everything. But these loads will screw on to the other respective antennas. So if we really want to make everybody angry, this is like this is like putting the Ford engine in the Chevy and the Chevy engine in the Ford. You know what I mean? We've got the striker load and antenna screwed onto the Wilson base, and the Wilson load and antenna screwed onto the striker base. So if everybody wants to get really, really angry, and if the competition between Wilson and striker wants to reach a fever pitch, well, there you go. Somebody can maybe have these things, you know, dueling it out. But the bases are basically the same. The loads are quite a bit different, though, in the sense that I like the striker because at least you can take it apart, as opposed to the Wilson here. The Wilson, you can take this riser part off, and there's a stud that's coming up through there. But you can't take the guts out through the bottom. I believe they're glued in there. Okay, let me get these things back together and finish our intro here. Alright. Okay, and then down here we've got the Stereo here. And let's see, I don't know what to say about it. It comes apart. You pretty much just loosen this thing here, and this thing comes off. This is how you adjust it, you know, if you want to lay it down or stand it up. And then this thing here, it's got a 239 on the mag mount, on the triple mag mount, and then the 259 on this part here. You basically take the whip out of here and then use this to kind of spin on this screw on this bottom part here until it's snug, and then when you're ready, screw this part in here, put your whip in, and you're good to go. This is a big antenna. I mean, it's really it's got some girth to it. It's a big antenna. It's almost as big as the whip. So, but I like it. I got it. It may be a little impractical to use every day, you know, especially on certain vehicles. But it's really got a multitude of uses, and there's a lot I really like about it. So I'll get into that down the road. The whip here, of course, is just constructed the way it's constructed. It's going to be stuck into this tram 5-inch mag mount, and I have a spring riser and a barrel spring and some stuff on the way, so I'm going to do some work to get this thing kind of hooked up. Hey, it's me, Shane, Gemini Garage, and back here with all these antennas here, and I went and set the whip length and checked the SWR on all of them, so I'm going to go through the results of that. You sneak over to the other side here. Alright, so where to start? It's a long test. Like on the last video, Mag Mount Mania 1, the first one, I'm going to have a part 2, and that's going to have most of the raw footage of the testing and stuff in there. So I took quite a bit of video of doing the SWR on these, so I'll make sure to include most of that. I may put a few excerpts of it here, but I just kind of wanted to go through this and just kind of have a quick reference here to the SWR before I move on to the signal test. And like I said, there's a lot of raw footage, so I just didn't want to mix all that up into this video here. So I'll put all this in, this results here, and this will all be part 1, and then part 2, like I said, will all be the raw footage, and then part 3 will be the conclusion and my final results. So with that, There was a couple of these antennas I had a harder time tuning them in than others. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. I mean, when you put a couple of antennas on there and they give you a 1.1 or a 1.2 without too much fuss, and then you put another one on there, and no matter what you do, it won't get you any lower than a 1.4 or 1.5. You know, that's just going to be kind of the nature of the antenna. Having said that, the tram here gave me a 1.2. The little wheel here gave me a 1.1, or excuse me, the little wheel. The Wilson 500 gave me a 1.1. The Tram 3500 gave me a 1.1, and it was a pretty flat 1.1. It was it really was you know, going across the channels at 1.1. I didn't write exactly down exactly what the span was, but it was doing really well. The Striker here, this is one of those that I couldn't get it below really a 1.4, and again, I think it was just the way it was reacting to the things around it. It's just kind of the way it was. I even bought another aftermarket whip and tried it in there with a longer whip and stuff just to kind of fiddle around with it, and still, as a matter of fact, this one here is a 66-inch whip. And so I put this in there and fiddled around with it, and still couldn't get it down any. I trimmed an inch or so off of that 66, so, but it seems to work better with the stock one in here. And like I said, 1.4 was about as good as I could get it. You know, and then in contrast, I put this Wilson 5000 on there, and not too much mess with it at all, and it gave me a 1.1. So there you go. I took them both off and on. I did try the rubber boot from the Striker on the Wilson to see if it affected the SWR, and it did a slight amount. I was getting like a 1.1 on this, and then when I put the boot on, I was getting like a 1.2. I would still get a 1.1, you know, up a little bit and down a little bit, so it didn't completely jack it, but it did make a small difference. Interestingly enough, though, when I tried the Striker with or without the rubber boot on it, it didn't seem to make any difference on that one, so you know, who knows. And then that's going to depend on the type of base sticker or decal that these things have on there anyways, how much a rubber boot may or may not affect them. So, alright, anyways, back to the Wilson 5000 here. That gave me a 1.1 again. The Stereo, that was about a 1.4. Again, some of these larger antennas, this one had so much metal, and with all this, I think it was just kind of the way it was reflecting. As a matter of fact, this one, I did put it, I got some video of it, I put it on the Expedition and drove it around just a little bit, and you could kind of see the SWR fluctuating from 1.3, 1.4, so I just wanted to put one on and move the vehicle around a little with it on there to see how much it would affect it, so that was the nature of that one there. This here is the mystery antenna that I got. The mystery antenna is screwed into the Tram 5-inch magnet mount base, which I was going to use for the whip, but I ended up using a tri-mag for the whip, which I'll show you here in a second. The one measurement that I didn't get in there was the mystery antenna's height, and from the tip to the base on it, it's 62 inches. I went through the length on all of these, but this one hadn't arrived yet, so again, 62 inches from the tip to the base on this one. And it was pretty easy to get tuned in with the SWR2. It gave me 1.2, and it was a pretty broad range on the 1.2, so that was good. Then I'm going to go down here to the whip and the tri-mag base. And kind of go over this a little here. What we got going on here. So, got a 1.4 on it, and it's going to be about 114 long or tall. Now here's the thing with these whips. You got a 102-inch whip, but then by the time you screw into another 6-inch with the ball and this and that, then you're, you know what, 108. But then sometimes you need even more than that. Like sometimes you need like around 113 or 114 inches, because depending on how reflective this thing is. Then also these whips are not exactly you know, 50 ohm resonant either. So there's a lot of things that can cause these things to skew. You know, some guys, I guess, you know, if you just put this on a bumper, you know, and then put your whip in there, some guys get kind of lucky with doing that. But if you're really trying to tune it in to get the shortest or to get the best SWR on it, if you're going to run some power, you really need to take some time and do some tuning. And it, depending on what you have it on or what you do with it, I mean, again, this is not really intended to be used on a mag mount, so that's probably got something to do with it too. You know, is where most of these are bolted straight to a bumper or straight to something metal. I've got it on a mag mount here, but I'm doing that because, again, I wanted to kind of try and have it able to compete with these other ones here. So anyway, so we've got a Procom ball and spring on here. I think it's a Tram triple mag mount with the Procom ball and a spring, and then it's got a Foss.com, is Foss Warehouse, Foss.com. That's where you would look it up on either eBay or on the internet. They sell all kinds of antenna parts and radio stuff, and they sell these 6-inch risers there. And these are really nice quality too. I might make a video really on this whole thing and how it went together and whatever. But anyway, so that's kind of what's going on with this thing here. And so we'll bring it back here. Okay, so there you have it. Once again, I have had these things off and on in here, off and on this meter a ton of times. I also have a Micronta SWR meter and another meter in here that's a D meter. It's kind of like a an old oh, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a triple meter. They both have SWR meters on it, so I mean, I've been looking at these through a couple of SWR meters plus the MFJ meter, and then I got this SARC antenna meter or antenna analyzer here. If I get a reading that's a little weird, I'll kind of put this on there to double check it. So, and then like I said, they've been on and off the vehicle multiple times. So these things, I didn't just put them on there and check them. I mean, they've all really been, if they gave me too much trouble, then I really put them through their paces and tried to figure out why and tried to get them as low as possible. So, like I said, with that, throughout this little segment here, I may put a little bit of video in here and there of me testing these, but the bulk of the video of me setting the SWR and tuning the SWR on these will be in part 2, and all the raw video footage there. So with that, I think we're ready to start actually putting these things on a radio and doing some signal testing on it and see what we get there. So I'll probably do a mag strength test on these two, even though I really don't need to, but sometimes you learn something putting stuff on and off of a vehicle. I know I have with this one here, so I'm still going to do a mag strength test with these in addition to the signal strength test and the SWR test that I already did. So with that, I'm going to get ready to start testing these things out with the signal, so stick with me.